Step on up, grab a chair, take a load off your feet. There's whiskey on the table and stories to repeat. We're talking about the hustle, the grind, and what we'll find in the heart of second chances where treasures bind.
Hey everybody, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. I know this is Saturday. I'm filming this is Saturday. It's going to release it Saturday. So I was supposed to take care of that yesterday, Friday. I was going to do it towards the evening because they had another scheduled power outage again in the area. Kind of annoying. So we had to deal with that. Well, basically not dealing with it. And that's going to the Goodwill or the thrifts, I went to the Goodwill bins while that was occurring. And then everything came back, and then family was in town, and we ended up going to eat, have a drink, and the rest is history. So nonetheless, today's Saturday. So I'm going to bring this video out. I was going to film it earlier in the week, but I forgot to go get the whiskey I wanted to feature in this video. So I picked it up yesterday. Well, while I had some free time. Anyway, like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think of the topics and the video. And so let's break open the whiskey. So this is the whiskey I talked about it last week, but it is Jura. I believe I pronounced that properly. This is the 10-year. They have other, more higher years, 12-year. This is a 12-year and a 14 and an 18. But this is the 10-year. It's a $35 bottle. And in my opinion, if anybody is a whiskey lover or you want to impress a whiskey person, you'll bring a bottle of this there, but you will, knock their socks off. At least me, you will. Not only be impressed with the selection, but also the fact that it's a great Scotch whiskey. It really, really, hits way above the belt on, this whiskey here. And it is from, as you can see there, it has the the location. It is an island. It's near the where Islay whiskeys come from. But it has what makes Islas so great. But most Islas are peated. Not all Islas are peated, but majority of Islas are peated. And that peat is an acquired taste. So not a lot of people like the peat. But this has all the greatness of an Islay peated whiskey without the peat. It's such a great whiskey. Like I said, this is on par with, more expensive bottles like, Macallan, the standard Macallan 12, which, I think is like around $60 a bottle, maybe a little bit, $65 a bottle for that. I think it even hits higher than that as well, too. Just this 10-year Jura. Even the other, the other Jura, the older Juras also, like I said, I'm not even pronounce that right. I'll have to look up the pronunciation. But even the older, the more aged ones, even hit a lot harder than comparable. So it really, really good. Just one of my top favorites, as I always say about every single whiskey here. Besides Oban, this is probably right up there next in line, with one of my favorites. Monkey Shoulder's up there too. Monkey Shoulder is so good. And one of the drinks I have with Cheesecake Factory, one of the drinks at Cheesecake Factory that I really like, because I'm not really a mixed drink person. I mean, I'll drink other alcohols, other spirits mixed, like margaritas and what is it? The one with rum and mint. It's the name escapes me right now. But when it comes to whiskeys, I generally like my whiskey just, maybe on the rocks, maybe a little bit of water. But that's generally about it. I do like a good old fashioned, and Cheesecake makes this drink. It's called a whiskey ginger, and it's whiskey. It has a little ginger, candied ginger in it. I think it's lime juice. I'm trying to remember what else is in it. But it is so good. It's called whiskey ginger. really good. And it starts with the whiskey, right? The whiskey is the primary, the star of the ingredient, and they use monkey shoulder, which monkey shoulder, if I see monkey shoulder, I'm getting monkey shoulder on the menu. Monkey shoulder is so good. And another one too, another one that really hits, it is a great whiskey. And what when I'm talking about really hit, I mean, it's also got a great price point too. Like monkey shoulder, Jura is just a little more obscure. Both of these just really good for their price points. $35 over at Total Wine is what that cost here in California. But let's get that open and let's just read. It's a 80 proof or 40% alcohol, which is typical of most Scotch whiskeys. It was aged in American white oak bourbon barrels. Okay, nothing surprising there. And then let's see. Has the distilling manager on there. Rich and rounded balance of subtle smoky notes with sweet sherry cast finish. So, man, this is going to be good. I mean, I already know. So, a touch of peat brings a rich and rounded balance and subtle smoky notes with a sweet sherry cast finish. It is warm in color with aromas of fruit, cracked pepper, dark chocolate, and flavors of nectarines, ginger, and freshly ground coffee. So, Jura single malt Scotch whiskey. So let's get in there. Let's crack this thing open. I haven't had a bottle of this in a while, so there's the cork there. That looks like a natural cork. Oh yeah. That's it's got the Isla smell to it. Give it a pour. Ooh, that looks like a lot, but we're good. Okay. Yeah. It has the Scotch Isla whiskey, on the nose. It smells so good. So, there's this a sense of ocean or brininess as a lot of people describe these types of whiskeys. To kind of get that really aerated there. Yeah. Yeah, that is. Oh yeah. That is really good. I mean, if you like Islas, or let's just say you want to get into Islas, because you either like it or you don't like it when it comes to Islas, peated Islas, that is. This will give you all the characteristics of a peated Isla, but it says on the bottle, peat, it says a touch of peat brings the rich and rounded balance of subtle smoky notes. And that is dead on that's dead on what it is. You don't get that medicinal peat aroma or taste really on this. It's very fresh, very bright, to me, peated whiskeys taste more, not necessarily like older in age, but more matured. I guess I would classify it as more of that kind of more of an old, mature type of whiskey. This one here is bright. It's fresh. It's got a lot of sweet notes to it, but it's well balanced. It's just like I said, it's well balanced. It's a great whiskey. Just enough heat. Oh yeah, just enough heat to tell you that it's there. This would be a great whiskey for a summer barbecue. That's what I'm picturing in my head right now. That's where it's taking me. It's taking me to a nice outdoor summer barbecue. The weather is just right, maybe about the 80s or so, which is just right for us around here. Maybe that's a little bit too much because we are in the 80s right now. But just a nice summer day where the days are kind of warm and then the evenings start to cool off quite a bit. You get a little bit of wind in the air, and you have the grill going, and you're grilling something up. Who knows? Burgers, hot dogs, some steaks or something, some carne asada. Um, that's what's all coming to my mind right now as I'm enjoying this. I'm picturing myself somewhere, enjoying this beverage. And it is a great whiskey that at $35 hits at double the price. When I was at Total Wine, I went to go look at another really good whiskey that I was thinking of purchasing, but I ended up not purchasing it because it was $71 and it had gone up in price. And that's the McKenna. Um, and they have a McKenna that's rather cheaper in price. Cheaper in price, that is. Maybe not quality, but cheaper in price. But the McKenna Bottle and Bond is a really, really, and it got a lot of attention several years ago because it did. I think it was this in San Francisco. They got several awards, and it used to be right around a $40 bottle of whiskey, but it has shot up to nearly double. That's $71 a bottle, and it's a great whiskey, but at $71 a bottle, I can buy maybe 1.5 or 2 bottles of another whiskey of other whiskeys that I would that I can get for that same price point. It's definitely worth it, but at $71, I can literally pick up a couple of bottles. So I can pick up 2 bottles at least, if not more, at Costco of 1.5 liter of. I can get like a 1.5 liter of Dewar's and Johnny Walker Red. So there's so much more, and but it's still a great whiskey. If it is gifted to me, I would definitely enjoy it. um, I may spend $71, but there's other whiskeys that I would prefer to purchase. But it's really good. It's a like I said, it's the McKenna Bottle and Bond. It's bourbon. Really, really good. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay, let's jump into what are we going to discuss today. We're going to talk about oops, my tablet just went dark. And let's see, UK trade deal we'll touch on. We'll touch on interest rates. I said I was going to talk about ads, which we're going to talk about now, and kind of like a little kind of go back to a little bit of vagueness as well too, just because of what I was listening to as of late. But first, let's jump right into a quick topic, really quick, in the UK trade deal. So the UK trade deal comes, post tariffs against everybody else in the world, right? And so now I don't really think, a trade deal with the UK is really like, oh my God, breaking news. Let's, stop and watch and see what's going on here. It's all right. All right. It's like, all right. Okay. The big deal, the one we want to know more about is China, right? Which is where a lot of this was, directed at or to. And I think everything else was just, a smokescreen. Everything else, all the other tariffs everywhere were just a smokescreen and or a flash grenade or whatever to try to distract everybody from the main target, which is China. And trying to, I know they say the goal is to really, really bring manufacturing here, but the reality is, and I'm pretty sure they are well aware of this. It takes years, And I mentioned this before, Donald Trump, his length of stay in the White House is 4 years, and that's it. 4 years. It takes a lot longer than that to start to build factories here. I mean, they didn't start building now. You need all these companies that he claims to want to start to begin production here in the United States need to start now. Actually, they need to start yesterday is when they need to start doing that. Not promising investment, not making promises of focusing more funds here. No, No, it needs to be done now. So, with that knowledge in mind, kind of the tariffs kind of take on a different meaning, right? They're kind of more they're more symbolic than anything. And I really think definitely, this was primarily targeted at China. Um, And right now there's just like this, I raise rates, you raise rate or tariff, you raise tariffs, I raise tariffs, I raise tariffs. Now all of a sudden we're seeing all kinds of exemptions, right? Certain people, oh, you know what, you're okay. You're the things that you manufacture over there and bring into the United States, we won't tariff those, and vice versa. So it's like it really looks like, well, what's the point? What's the point? We're gonna get down to the point where we're only, putting tariffs on who knows, like little, ornaments that come out of China, right? With all these exceptions and everything, that are in place. Nonetheless, it's still a lot of goods that are coming in that are, going to that someone's going to have to pay those tariffs. um, and some of the numbers that we're seeing right now, I think up to 30% decrease coming into the United States, which is fairly significant. Now, we're not going to feel any of that. We're not going to feel any of that impact just yet. It probably won't hit us until the end of summer, the consumers, that is. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move on here in the interest rate part of it. But we won't feel that towards probably the end of summer. And we will definitely start to be seeing those effects going into one of the most important parts of the year for retail, and that is the holiday shopping season. So, okay. So as far as the UK trade deal, I want to see the details on it. The only thing really that I would care about, and it's not even really me, it's more farmers and people that produce food here in the United States, because the UK, along with the EU, which is the European Union, have incredibly strict standards when it comes to food that goes into there. Whether or not you believe that's good or bad, that's not, my point here. Whether you believe that some of the additives or the hormones or whatever that are in our food that is okay for us to consume, but the UK says no. Yeah, whether or not that is healthy for you or not healthy for you, that is not the point here. The point is that the fact they have really, really strict food standards, which means very little food that we consume, that we buy, is over there. And the companies that produce it, that are, US companies, can't sell it over there, or during the manufacturing process or whatever, the feeding process, they have to, do it a different way, right? They can't use certain additives or anything like that if they want to sell in other parts of the world. And we're talking about UK, and EU here, or just UK in general. So, from what I've read, the UK, they were not going to. They said, yes, they're coming to the table. They want to trade, a trade deal, a new trade deal, I guess. But they will not sacrifice food standards. They will not, lower their standards, or they won't make any exceptions to the rules for the United States. But I don't know if that's still the case or not, and I really think that, the administration is really trying to appeal to middle America and those types of industries. Uh, and if that has to be a part of the deal, right? That has to. If those are the people that he's really that he's here for, that he's trying to say, the people that voted this administration in, that I feel that would have to be a part of this kind of deal, and other deals as well too. I don't know all the details on this UK deal. I haven't seen all the details yet, but I'm telling you that should be a part of this deal, that somehow, some way, they would accept more of our, crops or whatever we produce food wise into that country, because I really don't think they get much. I don't know what else they get from us, really. I probably should have looked it up for the video, but, I was just sticking to the point that I think, or where I believe that it really should be, where the trade deal should really be focused on, to really help, farmers and they talk about this, they bring up farmers and, industries that are similar to that they're trying to help. And, if that's not in there and then they're not helping them in that way, I don't know. I heard them talk about steel, but yeah, I don't know. If that is not a part of the deal, then I personally would go back to the drawing board and ask for that, and maybe get special exemptions for us, the United States, put that in there. Um, but, we'll see. More to come on that. Obviously, it's just the UK deal. It's not really, we all want to know what's going to go on with China. That's what we want to know. What are we going to do with China? I mean, can we get what is that? 145% right now? The tariffs are at. So yeah, let's see if we can get that. Let's see if we can work on that one, and not these other, smaller fish, not these other like little smoke screens, little, little nothings. The other big deal was interest rates. So the Fed chair came out and they made an announcement that interest rates will remain. And the markets didn't necessarily respond in any particular good or bad way. I think everyone kind of assumed interest rates would remain the same because the numbers, everything as far as the hard data we have right now suggest leave everything alone. Don't make any changes. Don't go up or down. Stay at normal. Stay where we're at the moment. And I really think they're just reacting to the data that's coming out. They're not going to be proactive. They're not. I don't think really they're looking down the road. They want to see the numbers. And I've mentioned this before as far as humans go and human nature and everything. Everything we have is digital, right? All of our, we have our cell phones, we have our computers, everything, everything's, numbers, right? Ones and zeros. But humans, we are analog, we are creatures of analog, right? We don't think our brains aren't moving in ones and zeros, right? So, the numbers, yes, the numbers, and there's a lot of people in reselling as well too that rely upon numbers. And yes, you can make, well, I'm not the best mathematician. I'm more, geared towards, physics, more the theoretical side of things. But, I'm really good at math. I'm a really good mathematician. And, yes, I do agree that the numbers and paying attention to the numbers, following the numbers, looking at trends and all that is important and should be considered. But we also got to look at the variables as well too. The variables of us as humans. We'll talk a little bit more about human nature when we get to ads and everything too as well. But we got to look down the road. We got to look at what's going to occur because of these tariffs. And while the economy is in a good place right now, it could not be in a good place in the future. And if everything stays the way they are, and one of my main concerns, like I said earlier, are what's coming into the United States, the imports, right? And they're obviously been reduced, the amount of imports coming in because of tariffs. Now, how do we, offset that? And why is that bad? Well, we've become accustomed to having a certain amount of items coming into this country. A 30% drop is very, very significant. Could we get to the point where we start to see, empty shelves potentially? That's potentially coming up. But then what does low supply mean? Low supply means that prices start going up on that supply that is low, right? It starts to get lower and then people still want, and there's not enough of it. So they start driving the price up and hopefully to try to quell that demand. But the issue is, the main issue as to why those are not coming in are tariffs. But I definitely believe, and I've mentioned this before, is that interest rates can kind of combat that if they go lower. And yes, we all think of lower interest rates. We think of, okay, houses, people start buying houses, right? Or refinancing and all that. but the bigger play there is actually companies borrowing money to hopefully continue bringing in the same amount of product. So the money is cheaper for companies to hopefully still invest in bringing in the same amount of product, but we're not getting that. The 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 Fed doesn't want to or is not caving to this. They're sticking to their guns, and you know, whether you believe that's right or wrong, I mean, personally, if we're looking at the situation at this very moment, we can kind of there's a box appearing in my behind me there. um, at the moment, if everything goes according to the way it is, come end of the year, we could see a significant decrease in supply here in the United States, and that's across the board. And that could cause prices to go up along with their inflated price, and which is because of tariffs as well too. Then you get the inflated price because of demand and not enough product, so you get hit with a double whammy. And then inflation starts. Then you have inflation all over again, and you can have rapid inflation. I don't think we'll see a hyperinflation event again like we saw post pandemic, but we'll definitely start to go up, and then interest rates will need to start going up again, and then you end up in the same boat we were in, 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago now. Because then you got to try to control that inflation somehow. So I really think they should be looking ahead at this. I'm pretty sure they will. They're smart people. I'm pretty sure they know this. What they're pretty much doing is waiting for someone to flinch. They're staring there. They got someone, you're playing the blinking game, right? They're staring at, this person staring at this person. They're waiting, you're going to see who's going to blink first, right? Somebody's going to blink eventually. Someone has to blink eventually. And I really think that they should bring down interest rates right now to get ahead of what potentially can occur in the future. Or to try to prevent that kind of a future, that double whammy event, that event where, the event where there's not enough supply, so it starts driving price up. Prices are already up because of tariffs, and then you start having inflation, and you got to try to get that under control somehow. And how do how does the Fed do that? They start raising interest rates. So, and that would not be a good scenario. I definitely think that would not. I don't think that would occur. I think, like I said, I think somebody will blink first. Um, uh, let's see, where am I at here? Interest rates mean cheaper money. I already said that. I definitely believe. I wrote here. I definitely believe. Oh, so I definitely believe that they should lower interest rates now, try to get ahead of what's coming. But of course, then they would blink first. They blink first, right? And then an interesting comment was made. I forgot who it was on CNBC. There was somebody they brought on, and then they said the Fed doesn't want. I believe the Fed, they don't want to lower interest rates, and then all of a sudden have the administration suddenly announce, okay, we're dropping all tariffs, or we're suddenly dropping tariff. They announced some rant, just a massive, saying, okay, well, tariffs are all going to be 5% or something, or, they believe that the Fed doesn't want to lower interest rates and then suddenly have tariffs go away. Cause that could be what is wanted, right? And I mentioned this before, how in a few videos ago, tariffs were probably not going to be so extreme. And the fact that they were extreme were not necessarily a target at any particular country at that moment. China was definitely still targeted no matter what. But the announcement of tariffs on all these other countries came about because interest rates were not announced to be lower. There was no lowering of interest rates at that time. So the target, or the secondary target, was to try to get interest rates lower by announcing these wild and crazy tariffs. And it's still not going lower. So we probably we won't, I don't think we'll hear anything about interest rates, until end of summer. Which at that point could be too late. That might be like at the cusp of when I mean, I feel it's probably already too late if we don't do it now. But um, I think they could probably still get a handle on things if at the end of summer. By the end of summer, something needs to happen. Somebody's gonna blink, and it's a balancing act. It's a delicate balancing act, and I definitely wouldn't want to be in charge of this this whole fiasco. Then you start questioning, was it even necessary to go through all this? Was it necessary to go through all this? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that, everyone has a plan of some kind that is hopefully for the good of America. We'll see. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Could it just be another, political thing? Could be, could definitely be. But I've been reading a lot about and watching a lot about, the political motives behind tariffs and everything. And oh yeah, I could see that point of view too, and I could see a different point of views. But at this point in time, we just have to wait and see what happens, and hopefully, hopefully somebody blink. Hopefully no one is just stubborn enough to not blink. Hopefully everybody blinks at the same time. um, I think we got to turn our attention to one thing that really bothers me is that I think Congress, they don't work enough. Every time I go, I hear about, Congress is out of session. Congress is on leave. They got to get this done before they go on leave. They got to do this before they leave. I'm like, geez, when are they ever there? How often are they even, in Congress, in the building? It doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems like they're never there all the time. They're always on recess. And I think we got to focus on getting some sort of tax plan together, some tax breaks. That is the other, that's part of the trifecta. That needs to get done, and I think it needs to get done sooner rather than later. I think it has to be done before the end of summer. If it's not done before the end of summer, we could run into some serious issues towards the end of the year. If everything stays the way it is, we could run to some, some significant issues come the end of the year. What else we got here? Okay, that's interest rates. All right, that's it. That's it about interest rates and my thoughts and opinions on that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And then as far as ads go and everything, and I really wanted to bring up a little bit, kind of go back a little bit to just vague video, vague information, just because I've been watching so much lately, and there's a lot. I don't know, everybody just seems to be more vague all of a sudden, and in YouTube world and YouTube land, in reselling land, because a lot of what I watch and a lot of what I have playing in the background here. And, a lot of people talking about, they got things in the works, or things are happening, can't tell you right now, or, something's on its way, something's coming, and it's really going to change my life, change my business, change reselling, change the world. But it's not here yet. It might be here in a day or two, 2 days. It might be here in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month. It might take a few years to come, but it's going to come. You'll hear that a lot, or you'll see, stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell notification so you stay up to date with all these potential changes coming down the pipe. And first of all, like I said before, that these vague statements, they can never be right nor wrong, right? If someone's telling you there might be an earthquake in a couple weeks, it might be a couple months, it might be a couple years, that an earthquake happens a year from now, you're like, well, I was right. I was completely right. Didn't I say that? Didn't I say it could happen in about a couple years? So they could always fashion their arguments, or they can always take from the previous video and say, well, I said it was going to be, you know, it could take this long, or it was going to happen within a decade, or, you know, something like that. And so they're never wrong, and they can always find the right in their argument, just so that they don't have to be wrong, you know? And makes you subscribe, make, you know, the whole goal. And it's an advertising tactic as well too, right? It's the to be continued type of thing, right? You want to know, and you want to hope that your information is as compelling as possible, that someone comes back for more, and someone comes back for, you know, it's like, oh, that's why some, you know, some series or TV series or movies, you're always like, you're hooked. That's what made Marvel so successful, especially with their end credit scenes. They get you hooked in that little bit, and you're like, man, well, what's going to come? What's going to come next? You know, what's going to happen? Let's start speculating. And then, you know, then you're waiting. Then when it comes out again, you're like, all right, let's go see it. Hurry. We got to figure out what's going on. We got to get answers. And they leave you with another question at the end of that. And it's like, no, there's no completion to it, right? It's just a constant cycle of trying to go back to see what happened. And that is a part of advertising, you know, that is a part of getting you hooked. So that way it preys upon your human nature. We'll get more into that in a little bit here, but all psychology, I wrote that down. But as far as ads go and advertising, the end goal is to get you to do something, complete an action. And on eBay and other sites that have you advertise, or just, you know, when you go in a store in general, you know, those advertisements, some might not even be full on, you know, just an ad. They might be placement. You know, you walk into a lot of, there is no accident that certain products end up right at the front doors of certain stores. It's not by accident. It's not like, you know, they wake up one day and like, hey, let's put Pepsi by the front door, or hey, you know what? Let's put what is it? Let's put Oreos. Let's put some Oreos over by the front door. What are you seeing by front doors right now? Right now, as of Saturday, May 10th, what are you seeing? Everything from Mother's Day. Why? Because Mother's Day is coming up tomorrow. If you are Mexican, and I believe it primarily applies to Mexican, or those of Mexican heritage, Mother's Day is actually today, Saturday. So I'm pretty sure it's Saturday. Pretty sure it's today. But we always celebrate it traditionally on the Sunday. But what do you see right now? Flowers, balloons, gift ideas, of course. Because why? Because Mother's Day is right here. So as soon as you walk through the doors, they want to bombard you with all that. It is not an accident that certain things are placed right in front of your eye. It is all done by design. There are people that study human nature. You know, they go to school for all this stuff in advertising. They study psychology. They study the whole art of advertising and how to get somebody to buy something. You know, I almost dropped my thing. So eBay is no different, you know, a little bit more difficult, obviously, you know, because you're online, and attention spans online are generally a lot less than in person. So the goal is to, you know, when you select that you're going to, you know, have an advertisement run, then the goal is to put it in front of people's eyes and try to get them to see that. Now, online, you know, when people are scrolling through things, there's a lot more data to go by online as opposed to who's walking through your front door of a store. You know, you have a lot more data, a lot more information, you know. Now everybody, you know, I think most people realize how important data is now, how important it was to collect all that data, because now those ads can be, you know, really, really pinpointed and precision strikes at the appropriate person looking at the appropriate time that's ready to buy. They have like all this stuff memorized. They're using software, right? They're using software to determine this anytime somebody goes on the website You might not see the same things on the front page that you're looking at as maybe your friend is looking at. It might be a completely different customized homepage because certain items are getting targeted to that person that acts with, based upon what they're searching for and what they're looking for and what they've looked for in the past. And so they're getting targeted with certain items that are should hopefully trigger a buy now response. It doesn't always happen. It's not a very, it's not a 100%. I don't even think it's 50%. I really don't even think it's maybe 25%. Maybe it's probably below 20%. Maybe more around the 10% range, 10%, maybe less than that. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's low. It's not high. And so you really, really gotta send out as much targeted ads as possible. Now, I've used something similar to this in the past, and at work, you're trying to get somebody to do something. Let's say you're trying to get somebody to do something for you, or somebody to try to take over something. Now, and I've done this before, and I've explained, what I'm going to do. I've told them exactly. I'm going to, I don't know, like get you to ensure you fill out this form every single time. Or one thing was, somebody will come to me and ask me, what it was is what it was sometimes was somebody would ask like, hey, do you know about this, this, this? And I'm like, oh, why would I know that? I'm not in that department. I don't have any information there. Oh, can you find out today? Well, it happens very consistently, surprisingly. And so I would tell, I'll be like, hey, watch this. In a few months, they're not even going to be coming to me for that information anymore. And what I would do is continually, repeat someone's name, who they should be asking for this information. And I would continually repeat it every single time. And I wouldn't even necessarily repeat it in direct response to that answer or question, I should say. I would repeat it just in passing or in other conversations, or so that way that name becomes ingrained in that, whoever is asking me's brain. I know I don't think I said that right, or I didn't use the right word. But nonetheless, you get the point. So I would continually repeat it all the time. And it wouldn't happen right away. It wouldn't happen within a day, 2 days, a few weeks. It would take a few months. And then I would point out, I'd be like, hey, look what happened now. Look what they're doing. Look what's here. They're not, they're not coming to me anymore. Look at that. Yeah, obviously it takes a while. It's just some people just don't have the patience for that. So then it's easier just to do it yourself. But in the long run, I was able to shift the question that was geared towards me and adding perhaps more work to my plate to the appropriate person where that question should be asked. Don't ask me because I'm just a convenient person to ask. Because, I'll go digging around, finding the answer, and they'll, go to the person that actually has the answer. So eventually it worked. And I've done that on many, many occasions. And usually I will tell, other colleagues or whatever, or sometimes I've even told the person too, I'm going to try this, little trick and we'll see if it works. And the thing is, they always forget about it. See, they always forget that I told them. And, they won't even realize that what I'm trying to do. And it works. It works all the time. Just constantly repeating it, constantly. And that's what's happening here with a lot of ads. They're constantly putting in front of people's faces, constantly putting in front of your eyes. Those jingles are there's no accident why these jingles that you hear on TV through commercials, get stuck in your head. It's not an accident. It's not just some random one-off. Oh, who knows? It's not some bizarre occurrence or anything like that. It's not a rare occurrence. It's not, it is by design. Things are designed to get stuck in your head. And eventually you're walking in a store and you're like, hey, remember that coupon? Or you're humming that tune, and then you see it on the shelves. You make a purchase. It's all just psychological warfare out there. And you're constantly getting bombarded even more nowadays with cell phones and everything. It's even more so nowadays. the constant bombardment. Um, like I said, it's psychological warfare out there. And, there are some people that understand it. There's most people, unfortunately, I think everybody should understand it and everybody should be aware of it. But most are not. A majority are not aware of it. And, and that's what advertisers want, right? Most people just are not aware of it. And some people may be aware of it, but they still fall into the trap. You know, sometimes I will purposefully fall into the trap if I like it. I am not easily affected by those things. Now, one thing I will touch on just a little bit ever so briefly is, and I want to drop little tidbits every so often of things that, kind of what I believe or where how I've got to the point where I am now in what I believe is, so I'm no secret. I grew up Christian, Southern Baptist church. I grew up as a baby all the way up till, I became an adult, 18, 19. Already discussed that story before. But one thing that a lot of religions do is they understand this. And now the people that are currently leading the church may not be aware of it either. They could have, it's already been, the material has already been pre-made. So they just follow along with the same material, right? They're already indoctrinated. And so they just go along with it and they continue to bring people in. But one thing that always stuck out with me, and when I was writing this, it kind of, yeah, it got me thinking about that again. And don't get me wrong, I believe in God, in the God, the creator. It's just the way in which I believe is different. Uh um One thing that always stuck with me when I was little too, as well, is, they would always talk about heaven, about the pearly gates, streets of gold, all the different, you know, diamonds, rubies, and everybody gets their own mansion. And I'm like, one thing that always stick with me is, in the afterlife, if we achieve our goal of eternal life and no more suffering, no more any of this, no more having to, all the knowledge and all this and everything. What would be the point of all that? What would be the point of having goals? We don't need anything at that point. Once we reach eternity, yeah, heaven, we won't have a need for any of that. So what's the point? What's the point of a mansion, right? What's the point of having a big old mansion at that point? And it always stuck with me. It was always a sticking point, always something that was like, why? It doesn't make any sense to have to need all that, in heaven. Why? And it wasn't until later on that I kind of, started learning about more about human nature and psychology and all that, that, those are things that we want here on earth. Those are things that appeal to us, that appeal to the human side, the flesh side, the carnal side, the moral side, whatever you want to call it, not the eternal side of us, not our soul. That shouldn't appeal to our soul, right? You know, yeah, that stuff appeals to me. Yeah, I see gold. It has an appeal to me. Does it will it make me do certain? No, it won't really drive me to really do anything. Am I going to jump over someone at the Goodwill bins to find a gold bar? Maybe if it's a big enough gold bar, I might fly over the bins. But then again, I might need a tetanus shock, or whatever I land on might kind of cause some damage. But those are things that appeal to humans, right? While we're here on Earth. Who doesn't want a mansion? Who doesn't want a big fancy car? Who doesn't want bars of gold? Who doesn't want diamonds? I mean, I like jewelry, and I wear silver stuff on me. I don't really like the gold color, so I'm more like silver or white gold, not really necessarily yellow gold. Um, but I like that stuff too. I wear that stuff, but it appeals to my mortal side. It appears to the flesh, and I really think these things are there. Like, you're gonna get a mansion. You're gonna have your front yard is gonna be paved with gold in front. Because that's what we want as humans. While we're here on Earth, right? That's what we want here. We want gold. We want a mansion. We want big fancy cars. And I really think that's meant to draw people in. Like, look at, if you do all this, this is what you can get at the end. When that's not really, that's not something as trying to appeal to our soul, our that point, our soul, our mind, whatever you believe in, your soul, your mind, your eternal side, that should really eh, not matter to that side of things. That shouldn't matter, because what's the point if you have no needs, if I have no suffering, if I'm not gonna, if I don't have to work out anymore, that would be amazing. Um, but, they really use that as a selling tool. Like, "Look, this is the end result," and they have to bring it down to a level where you can understand as a human, because not a lot of us can, really, it's very difficult to wrap your brain around these higher concepts, these higher, I mentioned, physics from time to time, quantum physics and all that. It's incredibly difficult to wrap your mind around these concepts and these things that are out there. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's not easy, and not many people can do it. I know many people that can't do it. It takes a very, a unique mind to be able to really understand, like the magnitude of infinity, or to understand the fact that there are differences between infinity. There's large infinities or small infinities. You know, there's and to understand, gravity. We think up and down, right? Simple, yeah, but it's not necessarily the case, right? Well, I shouldn't say right. It's not really the case. If you really understand gravity, the truth. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but really quickly, gravity, and the way gravity is created is by a mass. Just have a piece of paper here. I wish I had like a little ball bearing. Oh, I have this right here. So I think I showed this little bottle of whiskey I picked up out of Goodwill. It has whiskey in it, so technically illegal for them to sell it, but who knows? So think of space-time to be more specific. You have to include both of them, because when you adjust space, you also affect time. So this think of space-time as this flat, and then you put an Earth in the middle. So think of this as Earth, and this is what happened with space-time. It becomes warped. So it's not like it's like space just kind of goes around it. No, space, it actually falls into space, and then you have a warping of space. I know it's not really like, it's kind of hard with this piece of paper, but you kind of have a warping of space. And so really, this is, you're creating almost like a well, creating like a well. And so, the gravity is basically pulling you down into that point, right? You can't pull down to that point. And so, and Earth is spinning, right? Obviously, this Earth is spinning and all that. So this is actually what, if you were to be able to see it, how the Earth would sit in space-time, more specifically. So, and therefore it creates gravity because of that, for that warping of space. And then time has changed and all that other stuff. So, but it's hard to even you can't see it, so it's kind of hard to visualize it. There's a lot of mathematics that go into it to be able to determine exactly what it is. But a lot of these concepts, and how am I going to tie that back to advertising? Oh man, I went off on a wild tangent there, didn't I? But nonetheless, it's about it's about preying upon. It's really about preying upon, human nature, human psychology, and using those tools to be able to get you to complete some sort of action. And many people, like salesmen, they're taught the very basics of this stuff. They aren't really given the whole truth behind it. Like, they're kind of just taught the tools and how to use them and what to say and what to do this and this and there, but they don't really understand it. They kind of, they understand how to use the words because they're taught that way. But as far as the full on psychology behind it, they're not really taught that stuff. And that's why some of them are better than others. Some of them come off, the old term used car salesman. They just kind of go through the motions. Some of them maybe have a little bit more knowledge than others, and therefore they're a little bit better at it. Some of them just have a more appealing voice, so ads And, you know, then there's many ways that people use ads to try to get you to complete an action of some sort. You know, eBay, and this is where primarily looking at reselling eBay. You know, the goal is to try to show you items over and over again to try to get you to complete a purchase. You know, be it from you, be it from somebody else. Maybe if you pay enough, they'll show you your item more. Um, or maybe, you know, as long as it makes a sale, eBay makes money. So, you know, it's all one big giant psychological game, warfare, war games. And the reason why I explain all this, why I go through all this, is just to help you be a better, more well-informed individual. You know, not just a consumer, customer, whatever. Just be more informed. You know, try to bring some, you know, some enlightenment out there to the world with these topics, with this side of things from a reseller's point of view. You know, kind of give, some of my own knowledge and expertise and things as well, bring it out here. I just don't want to, yeah, we're going to try to tie it all back into reselling somehow. But, ultimately, if you learn anything, I'm glad. I'm glad it helped. I'm glad this is out there. And we are approaching the 1 hour mark. That's my goal here, is try to keep this to about an hour or so. And I hope you enjoy the video, the content. I hope you enjoy the reselling content, the thrifting. The most important thing is finding the items. I've said it over and over again. The most important thing. Everybody's starting to say it now. Everybody's starting to say, the products, the items you're selling are the most important. Before, they were saying other things, but now everybody's starting to circle back to the items are the most important. And I've said it all along. The items are always going to be the most important thing. How you're getting these items, what you're paying for the items, finding great items, finding items that resell well. Just recently I had that animal, that plush. There was two almost exact ones. One of them was like in a sweatsuit, tracksuit. The other one was in a dragon costume. I left the tracksuit one behind. I grabbed the dragon one because that one's more appealing and that one sold. The other one I didn't think had a very good sell-through rate just because of the subject matter. The exact same brand, exact same base animal. It was just clothed differently that sold the item. So, and that's really, really what I try to specialize in, is trying to find those the subject matter that will get items sold. It's not necessarily the brand, although the brand plays a role in it. There's a lot of stuff that plays a role in the overall thing, but sometimes it's the subject matter that does everything. Right now, we actually just picked up a shirt. I picked up a shirt. I thought I had my Chicago hat on, which has the flag of Chicago on it, but my wife picked up a Chicago Cubs shirt, and right here, just across the chest, they had the Chicago flag on it. And I said, let's pick that up right now, because why? The new Pope. My wife always says I sound like the leftovers when you juice the Pope, the Pope, the pulp. That's what it is. That I tend to, when I say Pope, I tend to say pulp. So it's really Pope. It has the flag of Chicago on it, and the new Pope is from Chicago. So, I said, let's get it. We could probably sell it right now because that's in the news right now, right? It's trending. Again, taking advantage of human nature, taking advantage of what people might be looking for. Something that I like and that I always buy all the time if it's a good deal are keyboards. What triggers me to purchase this? Well, first of all, the price is really good and it's a really great keyboard. And it's a nice compact one. But I saw this at Goodwill, and I was like, not that this really ties into my story today, but I kind of had it here and I forgot. I was going to show it at the beginning, but check out this keyboard. Really, really cool. I just found this at Goodwill. $8.59 is what I paid for it. This should sell for about $50. Look cool. Little custom keyboard. However, I might keep it. Like I do with a lot of things. I might keep it. It's a really nice keyboard. I really liked its little compact nature. And I use a kind of a compact keyboard down here, but this was even more compact. And I really like the feel of the keys on this one. It's really, really nice. I really like this keyboard, and I might switch to using this one. Although I don't know if this is wireless or not. I haven't really looked into it at all, and I can't really tell all the different symbols that are on here yet. But if it's wireless, I will probably use that. We'll see. It's definitely a wired connection, and you can see right there it is a Type C connector. But really cool, really cool device. Either way, let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the topics. Let me know what you think of the whiskey. Have you heard of Jura before? Have you tried it before? That's it. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.
Hey, you've made it to the end. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video by hitting the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel by hitting my little round icon down below. It really does help us out here. Also, you'll find a couple of selections. You'll see a playlist of videos to watch and my most recent video that I did upload.